Valve hasn't made a game in a while. With the exception of a VR minigame collection to coincide with the release of the HTC Vive, the last full game release was Dota 2 almost 6 years ago. I got a little nostalgic seeing Valve's logo in the intro again, but despite the years that have passed since their last major project, Valve hasn't lost their touch for good game design, nor have they shown any sign of slowing down in ensuring that all of their games fully integrate into the Steam marketplace. I normally don't have much to say about pricing and monetization in my reviews, but that certainly changes in a game like Artifact, where so much about the game is tied to how much it costs. There's a lot to unpack here before we get to the strong game underneath all of the controversy surrounding the pricing, and boy, what a controversy that is. At the time of this review, the game's reviews are mixed, and that's by Valve's own terminology. I think whether your thoughts are positive or negative about the game's pricing will depend on how many other card games you've played prior to Artifact and how accustomed you are to their pricing schemes. The following two statements are true about Artifact. Compared to most other trading card and collectible card games, Artifact is reasonably priced. Compared to most other video games, Artifact is ludicrously expensive. The pricing model here more closely resembles a physical TCG like Magic the Gathering than it does other online collectible card games like Hearthstone. The $20 price tag on the game is essentially 10 packs to get you started with, which you can open and then sell the singles on the marketplace. Though the economy is still adjusting after a volatile first night, most estimates pin buying every single card in the entire set at under $100, and getting multiple copies of each to have a full playset somewhere in the sub $300 range. Of course, you're not supposed to be buying every single card in the whole set, but the fact that this is a financially reasonable goal here piqued my interest. There are single decks in Magic that run you that price. This article on PC Gamer shows that tournament-winning competitive decks are sitting somewhere in the $60 range. The real zinger here is that there isn't any way to grind for packs. There are no daily quests or in-game currencies. The only way to get some cards out of the game is to put money into it in some capacity, whether that be purchasing packs, singles from the marketplace, or buying tickets to play modes with rewards. I'm not going to try to tell you how to feel about all those numbers. Just be aware that this is what they are, and presumably, prices will continue to go down on average as more packs get opened. If you want to play Constructed at any semblance of a competitive level, you will need to put money in, even if that money will take you farther than most other card games. If that's something you're unwilling to do, then nothing positive I say in the rest of the review is going to change your mind. Thankfully, there are other modes that aren't just here to siphon money out of you, so let's start talking about the game itself. Artifact intelligently doesn't attempt to directly compete with the digital card game giant Hearthstone. Whereas most digital card games since Hearthstone have easy parallels drawn to it, Artifact is almost unrecognizable from its closest competitors, digital or physical. In an attempt to differentiate itself from its peers and approximate Dota's mechanics, the card combat takes place across 3 different lanes. In each lane you have a tower with 40 health that protects a core with 80 health. To win, you need to take 2 objectives, whether that be 2 different towers across 2 lanes, or a tower and a core in a single lane. Much like Dota, you will distribute your heroes across these 3 lanes. The first turn begins with a flop where your front-running heroes get randomly distributed across the 3 lanes. This opening flop, not too dissimilar to poker, is indicative of the kind of randomness that Artifact uses to inform its cards and mechanics. It's not afraid to utilize coin flips and randomness outside of your control. Rather than altering the odds of these coin flips with your actions, Artifact asks you to respond to coin flips as a way for you to have agency, rather than changing them. Cards like Cheating Death come to mind, where once this improvement is placed into a lane, your cards will have a 50% chance to not die when they hit 0 HP. It's a type of randomness that is at times testing to your patience, but otherwise serves its purpose of making each game feel unique and different. The cards themselves are surprisingly some of the simplest I've seen across the genre as well. There are minimal keywords in the game, and most of the cards here are simple modifications to your heroes and the other minions on the battlefield. Part of this can likely be attributed to this being the launching set of the game, and the complexity will ramp up over time, but I wager a big part of it is that the cards themselves are simple because the framework that they live in is remarkably complex. Each card may only do one very simple thing, but the amount of different ways you can use that card is staggeringly high. You'll need to think about the cards in your hand and how you wish to distribute them between the 3 lanes. Part of the strategy is knowing when to give up on a lane you're going to lose, but not giving it up so hard that your enemy can just blitz down the core once they get through the tower. The heroes that are felled in battle will eventually respawn as well, with all of the items and enchantments that may have been attached to them prior to death. It's a unique system that allows you to deck build around specific heroes, knowing that these heroes will never be taken out of the game for good. The heroes and cards also have their themes informed by 4 different colors that a card can be. Loosely speaking, red is for the fight-heavy brawlers, blue is for the tricky spellcasters, green is for the large, unstoppable beasts, and black is for the assassins. Much like Magic, these colors help guide new players in deck building by associating cards with synergy under the same color, but also act as a restriction by preventing you from diluting yourself too far. You can only use a card in a lane if you have a hero of the corresponding color within that lane, so the more colors you try to splash in your deck, the thinner you're spreading yourself. There's a lot of good systems here that show that industry veteran and lead Magic the Gathering designer Richard Garfield was at the helm for a lot of this project. Artifact's core mechanics are inspired, and the amount of variety that this 3-lane system brings to the table is greatly welcomed. There's an intense amount of skill required for even the simplest of decisions in this game. The heavy emphasis on positioning gives the game a turn-based strategy feel on top of the card elements, which is really damn cool.
It's been fun.
What deserves just as much credit as the gameplay design here is all of the art wrapped around it. Artifact is a stunning display of craftsmanship with stellar music, strong voice acting, great card art, and these expressive imps that cart your deck along the 3 different lanes. There's an impressive amount of interactions between different cards here too. Playing cards down in a lane adjacent to lore-appropriate friends or enemies will trigger some sort of reaction out of one of the parties involved. And the collection screen has voiced lore for every hero in the game. I can't believe this game is managing to get me interested in Dota lore.
I know these people think me a monster. I don't blame them. No one wants to be occupied, but it's in their best interests. If we weren't here in Roseleaf, the Red Mist would have slaughtered them all.
At the time of this review, Artifact has a few different modes that you can partake in. There's a draft mode, a constructed mode, and a paid version of both of those, where there are card pack prizes awaiting you if you're victorious. The free draft mode has eaten a majority of my time spent here. Drafting is the best way to compete if you don't have a strong collection, and can be more fun because it forces you to play with cards that would otherwise be ignored in a constructed format. It's definitely the mode to play if you don't want to spend more than the $20 startup fee. There's also a rotating featured mode, but I think the most important comment I can make about the modes here is the lack of a ranked one. At the time of review, Artifact has no ladder or stat tracking systems. As much fun as I'm having, the fact that I would need to manually track my wins and losses in a spreadsheet to find out if I'm getting any better is a really questionable omission. For what's going to be the beginning of an ever-expanding game, Artifact leaves a strong foundation. Its monetization model is one you'll love or hate, but you don't need to put in any money beyond the initial fee in order to experience the endlessly replayable and fun draft mode. It's a shame that the current game doesn't have any of those long-term stat tracking and progression hooks that nearly every game it's competing with does. I'm looking forward to see what the months and years bring to Artifact, because what's here so far is really enjoyable.
Have I got a surprise for you?